The scene of a car accident can be terrifying for people who respond to emergencies. But often the problems they face are something that most of us haven't really thought about. Something a little bit mundane, like repeat calls to the same scene. Dan Markin has volunteered with the Beasley Fire Department for 18 years. Now, Beasley sits just south of Nelson on the road to Castlegar. And that's where Dan Markin has created something he hopes will eliminate these repeat calls to accidents. Dan is on the line. Good morning.
Good morning.
So what is it that you've created?
What I've created really resembles a large shopping bag. And the purpose of it is to identify a scene that fire departments or other emergency services have already dealt with, and hopefully in that way inform the public that we have been there and cut down on those repeat calls.
So explain to me how you would use it. Would you just set it on the road, or would you tie it to the antenna? How would it be used?
Well, that's exactly what you would do. Depending on which way the vehicle's facing, you could utilize this to tie onto the side of the vehicle, whether it's a drive shaft, a wheel, a antenna, whatever. Or if you're dealing with, for example, a vehicle off the road and all you've got to identify the scene is just a set of tracks through the snow, utilizing a couple of sticks, place it on top of that, and identify the scene as having been dealt with, and hopefully in that way reduce the number of call-outs that are repeat calls.
Explain why that is necessary.
Well, every time an emergency services crew rolls, they tend to roll in code 3, in other words, lights and siren. Now what we're doing is we're increasing the traffic on the road. We are putting the public to a point at risk because we are increasing traffic, creating somewhat of a bottleneck in that area, and of course the obvious rubbernecking that happens whenever you create all these lights and create a scene. Now to do that for an actual scene, to add a certain amount of safety to the workers on the scene, and of course to try and remove the hazard from the area and reduce the hazard to the public is one thing, but to have to respond to a scene that doesn't really exist because unfortunately the public has no way of knowing that we've been there is it's unfortunate and it's not necessary.
And it has to be somewhat disturbing too for first responders when they get a call in the middle of the night to come out to an accident scene that they've already been to.
Well, it is. It really is. I mean, doing this job, especially as a volunteer, there's a certain amount of satisfaction in being able to assist people in their times of need and alleviate the suffering they're going through. And getting up in the middle of the night is certainly expected, as that's usually when things happen. But to do that 2 or 3 times, being called to what you assume is a new accident, arriving there with adrenaline, all ready to help out, and then find out that, no, this is just a vehicle that has unfortunately not yet been towed, can be very frustrating, yes. And other methods that we used in the past, such as either using flagging tape on the vehicle or placing cones, has proved to be very ineffective.
Why do you think your invention, this bright yellow bag, will be more effective than pylons or the flagging tape that you've used in the past?
Well, the bag is about 20 by 20, so it's quite large. It's designed to resemble a street sign or a traffic sign. It's got a large, bright black border around it, but more importantly, it's got a large check mark through the middle. So it's very easily identifiable. It also has the words on it that read, "Vehicle checked by emergency services." So if you're coming by at a slower speed because conditions require that, you've got plenty of time to read the sign. But even if you're going by at a faster speed, the check mark hopefully will allow the public to recognize that it has been checked, that it has been dealt with, and it's not necessary to dial 911 and initiate a call.
I just want to go back just for a second, Dan, and is there any way to quantify how often you are called out to a scene that you've already been to, or are there any numbers that indicate how often that happens?
Well, there are no hard numbers. Nobody actually tracks that. But in my years of experience, I would say it's probably about 1 call in 10 that is a repeat call. And it usually is more common in rural areas because there's no identifying markings. You can't say that, yes, it's at the corner or such and such, and the dispatcher go, well, we've already dealt with that one 10 minutes ago. It's usually something in our area, for example, it'll be a motor vehicle incident in the Bluffs. Well, the Bluffs are about 8 kilometers long. So to have a second one in the Bluffs is certainly quite a valid point. So you don't necessarily know where this is, and of course you respond fully expecting to be dealing with another incident.
With the lights and sirens and the adrenaline.
Exactly. And the intent, of course, of this bag is just to cut out those unnecessary calls, which do take a toll on the equipment and the members, and certainly don't assist the public in any particular way.
So what sort of reaction has your idea, your invention, received from emergency departments, from fire departments?
Well, the product's only been available to the emergency services groups for about 2 weeks. It's been about 9 months in development, but 2 weeks available. And the response has been quite good. I've had about a dozen departments locally here in the West Kootenays that have bought into the idea and bought bags. And I certainly appreciate the opportunity to talk to you because at this point I'm getting the opportunity to market it really, I guess, to a new group that I haven't been able to get a hold of to this point. So it has been quite good. The weather has been also cooperative to this point. We haven't had much need for it, but I expect over the next few weeks we are going to start seeing a lot of yellow bags out on the side of the road.
Is this going to make you rich?
Oh, goodness, no. No. It's going to take quite a number of sales to recoup the costs that have been involved in getting it to market. And really, it's been more of a labor of love than anything else. I would like to be able to sleep through a night without having to go out to a repeat call unnecessarily, and I know there's a lot of other members out there that would as well. The product will not be available for the public to purchase. It's strictly for emergency services group, but would it be possible to advise them of the website that I have?
Sure.
If they're interested?
Sure.
If emergency services groups are interested in getting further information, they could certainly go to the website at frontline-safety.com and contact me via that.
All right. Dan, thanks very much for telling us about it.
And thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's Beasley volunteer firefighter Dan Markin. So what do you make of his invention? You can give us a call at 1-888-662-6628. And tomorrow on Daybreak, I'm going to speak with 2 university students who are also concerned with safety on our highways. That's coming